Just before we get into the podcast, I'm going to ask you to do me a favour and hit subscribe. Why am I asking you to hit subscribe? Well, it's because more people like you will get to hear the content and they will then be able to build their coaching business just like you. It's nice to be nice, isn't it? Thanks for listening and subscribing. Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Cracked Kickass Coach podcast. Today, I have Dominic George with me. Hi, Dominic. How are you doing?
I am wonderful, and it's great to be here, Rebecca.
That's an absolute pleasure. Now, Vision Leadership for Life. All right. I like the title. But before we get to where you are now, how did you end up as a coach? Because I interview a lot of coaches, and it's not something, when you're a kid at school, you go, I want to be a coach when I grow up. Or maybe you did. I don't know. How did you end up here?
Yeah, throughout my life, I've actually had a number of different coaches from a very young age. I've had mentors to my teenage years. I actually had sports coaches and people in my life that I didn't know were coaches until I reflected back and I was like, oh, you were guiding me in a direction that I didn't know that I had access to at the time. And so I've had coaches throughout my life, but in terms of a professional setting, I decided to be a coach because I was often in the workplace navigating various different things, whether it was politics, understanding how to go from one level of leadership to the next. And I didn't really have that consistent guidance. And I was often learning on the spot. I was learning how to do certain things. And it wasn't until I hired my first executive coach when I was going into senior leadership that I realized that this could have been really helpful if I knew about this from the start. And what I didn't have access to was my earlier manager experience. I had the executive experience of coaching, but I didn't have that earlier manager experience. And so I decided that I wanted to help other people navigate that space because it's really challenging to do it alone. And when you have a helping hand who's had the experience and had the sort of skill set and framework to navigate those spaces, it just becomes much easier. And so I wanted to help create impact for other leaders to help navigate those spaces. So that's really why I became a coach.
It's the best reason in the world. And I still don't understand why organizations promote people based on their technical
Mm,
ability and not on their ability to work with other people. And I still don't understand why organizations don't give those, people who are stepping up into perhaps their first leadership role, the support of a
mm.
coach, a mentor, somebody. It's just left to chance most of the
Yeah.
time, isn't it?
Yeah, it's definitely like a relational thing, and I've spoke about this in many different facets on platforms, but I often call it the messy middle, where you have a group of leaders who are very skilled, very motivated, highly intelligent, but lack the support to really do the people manager component and develop those emotional skills and all the soft skills that it takes to be a great leader. But organizations sometimes are really stretched thin, and it's a matter of like leaders deciding where should their resources go in, and oftentimes it's unfortunately in the wrong direction. I believe that the that group that I had titled the messy middle, which is managers just really figuring it out and trying to lead the best way they can without all the full resources. I don't understand it either, Rebecca, but I think we would all be much better off if more leaders had coaches and guidance to just lead better. I think it creates better impact in the world.
It really does. I love the fact that you've used the phrase messy middle. It's a phrase I've been using in the past few weeks. There's
Mm,
something in the universe spreading that around. Don't know where that's come from. Um, yeah. So it sounds like you were lucky enough to have, like you say, coaches and mentors when you were younger, but
mm,
didn't call them that. Um, and I guess looking back, for me, it might have been a teacher. I didn't play sport, so it was teachers that I got that from. So you're lucky enough to have experienced the difference that that makes. So as you were growing up and you look back, kind of what difference did it make to you, do you think? Looking back.
Oh, it made the world of difference for me. When I think about my sports coaches, and I'm also an educator at heart. I consider myself to be an educator, and so whenever I'm coaching, I'm also taking that lens as an educator to support people. So we have some alignment there, Rebecca.
Yeah.
But earlier on, I remember my coaches just pushing me to a limit that I didn't know was possible. There were some days where I just wanted to give up. It was too hard, or there were some days where I thought I had it, but then it didn't land the way that I thought in my head. And I had a coach to sort of walk me through, okay, this is what you intended. This is what happened. This was the reaction of the people that you were trying to lead. Let's talk this out and revamp the intention, or really keep the intention, but revamp the strategy on how you create the impact that you're looking for. And I just always had those individuals who were helping me revamp like my approach, and it's so invaluable for me. It's helped me accelerate in my career so much faster. It's helped me, I think a byproduct result is increase my income significantly over the past several years of my leadership experience. And for me, without a coach, I think it just would have took a little bit longer to get to where I'm at. It would have took a little bit longer to experience the failures that many leaders go through. And a coach just really helped me avoid some of those pitfalls. They helped me avoid some of the traps that leaders sometimes put themselves in without knowing that they're going in that direction. And so for me, it was so significant. And I would, if I had to do it again, I would have hired a coach in my teenage years if I had the funding. But the earlier the better. I think is it's significantly made my life that much better.
Yeah, it does. And I say to my clients, look, you can do this without me. You
Mhm.
absolutely can do all of it without me. But yeah, Dominic, you've hit the nail on the head. But together we'll get there faster and you won't fall into the same trap.
Yes.
Or if you do, I can pull you out faster.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so what was the catalyst for you leaving the security
Mm.
of a salaried job where I call it the magic money appears in your bank account once a month?
Yes.
But what was the catalyst for change for you?
Yes, such a pivotal moment in my career. Um, I was at a point where I just kept helping people, and it was bringing me tremendous joy. And I just love to see people succeed. I love to see people win. It's been the through line of all of my career decisions. Whenever I'm deciding to work at at an organization where the salary was present, I was always curious about how can I create the most impact? How can I help the most people? And how can I be of service as a servant leader? And it brought me tremendous joy. And there were some things in the workplace that just kept pulling me away, whether it was the admin work, whether it was the politics of the workplace, or whatever the thing was that kept just pulling me away from the people, which I loved. I got to a point where I was like, I love leadership and I love this work, but I love helping people so much more. And so there was a point in my work trajectory where I had accelerated, I had reached all the titles that I wanted, I had set and met all the milestones of the income that I wanted. And I said, one day I was working with an individual and he was asking the same questions that I was asking in my like mid 20s.
Okay.
And I was like, I don't have the time right now to like really support you in the way that I want to. But I was trying to actively find the resources for him to send him somebody that I trusted, that I valued in terms of the work that he was looking for to grow in. And I just couldn't find the resources. And so I said, I'm doing this so much that I just actually want to do this all the time. And so I had a conversation with this individual. I said, look, I can't find the resources that I'm looking for, but I'm going to make time for you. And then it was in that conversation that I just decided to pivot and go off and do my own thing. Definitely a scary point,
Yeah.
but well worth it in the end.
Yeah, very scary. Lots of people don't ever, loads of people feel like you and then don't ever make that leap for whatever reason. And,
Yeah.
there's no judgment in there. They just can't. Circumstances don't allow it. So you kind of go back. How long have you been running your coaching business now then?
This is going on year 8 for me.
Wow,
Yeah.
fabulous. So go back to year
Yes.
one.
Hmm.
What do you want to share with our audience about the things to kind of get involved with and not get involved with in year one? Because I coach a lot of brand new coaches and they're doing all kinds of things. I'm like, really? You really doing that now? So what would you go a definite must-haves in year one and ones that is just a distraction?
Yeah, in my year one, if I had to reflect back,
Mm,
um, I had such a wide lens of who I wanted to work with. I wanted to work with everyone. I wanted to help everyone. And I was just putting all of the information out there, trying to build my client list, trying to build my impact, and it just wasn't landing.
mm,
And in year one, I realized that I didn't niche down. I wasn't targeted in terms of who I wanted to help, why I wanted to help, and really understanding the clients that I wanted to work with. I knew I wanted to help people, but I didn't know specifically who I wanted to help. And I think that's so important. It
mm,
took me a long while to really identify that niche. But in year one, that I would say I would offer anybody who's jumping into their own entrepreneur journey, whether it's a coach or something different, to really get clear on who your target audience is. And I think once you get clarity on that, everything else sort of falls into perspective. But
mm.
for me, I was trying to do everything at once, and I really just needed to check myself and slow down and take one step at a time. And that target audience was the first thing.
100%. Yes, it's a really familiar tale, really familiar tale. So who do you support now? Who are your audience?
Yeah, so I work particularly with Black males who are in that leadership space, looking to go to senior level leadership spaces, and are just really struggling to get there. Maybe they're overlooked. Maybe they've tried different interventions to grow from their mid manager seat into a senior level role, going through the interviews, and it's just not landing for them. And so I help those specific individuals craft their leadership story. I call it their leadership DNA. And I help shift their mindset towards what I like to think of at Vision Leadership for Life, what's impossible to possible. And I think that's all mindset shifts.
Mm.
And from there, you get to create extraordinary impact and motivate others to create that same success.
That's really cool. And do you work online or face to face, Dominic?
So I've done a combination of things. So I work with those particular individuals, but I also work with companies as well to help their leaders become better leaders. And so when I'm working with other organizations doing leadership development, I'll fit the need of the organization, whether that's in person or virtually. And then for the individual clients that I work with, those are majority virtual.
Cool. Nice one. So you've got a really nice blend.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
like that. Yeah, I like that a lot. Whereabouts are you based?
So I'm in the New York City area,
Cool.
and I actually go between New York City and New Jersey pretty frequently, but I'm based in the New York City area.
No shortage of people
Yes,
who need coaching in that area.
not at all.
No shortage whatsoever. You will be forever busy, definitely.
Yes,
All
such a
right.
great place,
Yeah,
amazing
it
place.
is. I love New York. I've been a
Hmm.
few times and I love the vibrancy and the energy of the place. It's fabulous. I
Yeah,
really, really like it.
life
I'm not
changing.
yeah, I've not been for years. I must go back. My youngest daughter's desperate to go and like
Mm.
it's on the list of things to do, definitely.
Yeah.
All
And
right.
remind me where you located currently, Rebecca?
Edinburgh. Edinburgh
Okay,
in
perfect.
Scotland.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm
Yes.
not Scottish. I have an English accent, so I'm from Manchester originally.
Yeah, that's what I was picking up.
Yeah, it confuses the heck out of everybody. But I've lived in Scotland for 31 years now.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Awesome.
still don't have the accent. Yeah, so 8 years in, again, our audience is a huge combination of people who've been coaching for decades and just started. So yeah, 8 years in, so I've been coaching about 16 and a half years. So you're
Mm,
about halfway through where I'm at, which is really interesting.
mm.
Uh, what does the future hold for you? Where do you see it developing in terms of where you want to take this business?
Yeah, my thing is again, I want to create extraordinary impact on the planet, and whether that's one person at a time or multiple groups in one to get there, I'm interested in shifting the planet in a positive way. And so for me, it's about the impact, and however I get there, I get there. But
Yeah.
where I see my organization going is really helping leaders understand we're in this pivotal point of what I see AI doing in the workplace. And something that I'm really curious about in this moment is how to center people in the evolution of AI and using AI as a space where we could really elevate our performance, enhance our operations. And for me, it was like I named earlier, there were times where I was pulled away from the things that I truly loved. And sometimes it was the monotonous work. Sometimes it was the things that just needed to get done on the side. But I always wanted to be the type of leader that was in front of people, building my team, creating high performing teams. And so I am excited about helping leaders optimize their leadership through AI while
Yeah.
centering people and growing in that direction to create more impact. So that's something that I see for at least the future of my organization and the shifts. But I also really want to help young people.
Mhm.
There's a group of leaders who are hungry for information, hungry for different ways to lead better. But I also think
Mhm.
there's a younger generation who is navigating this space alone. And I want to also help as many young people as I can navigate the space of leadership to create a
Mhm.
better world.
Yeah, yeah. I call it sharing the good stuff. I think you and
Yeah.
I are in the coaching game for the same reason. Is that we want to share the good stuff. We want my vehicle, your vehicle is doing that through the world of work and through the
Mm,
world of business. Other people use other vehicles to do that.
mm,
Um, yeah, when you create great leaders, they create a great environment, great working
mm.
place. People have better lives. They're nicer to their kids. They're nicer to their neighbors.
Yes.
It's a lovely virtuous cycle, isn't it? Let's
Yes.
face it, definitely. I'm
Fully agree.
interested in the point about the younger people. It's something that I've been thinking about recently. I'll tell you my crazy idea, Dominic, and
Mm,
see what you think. My crazy idea is I'm now 55, right? And I have this crazy idea to sit myself in the corner of an office somewhere and just be like the wise person in the corner.
mm,
I've got a phrase like, wise woman in the corner or granny in the
mm,
corner because I think you're right. I think young people in certain communities anyway don't necessarily have a direct contact with people who are older and wiser, maybe two or three generations above them to
mm.
connect with. Is that what you're talking about? Do you get that sense or is it something different?
No, I think we're aligned there. And I actually I have a maybe a different approach to how I think about leadership with young people as well. But we are on the same wavelength here,
Right.
Rebecca. Something that I actually have learned from being an educator in spaces, and then also just I volunteer a lot in leadership spaces here in New York City as
Right.
well. But something that I've learned from young people, whether that's adolescents or like early adults
Hmm.
in the workplace, is they are truly wise in certain areas. and they lack experience in others. And so I think it's that combination of someone who is a little bit more mature and have more lived experience to help shed light on some of the things that worked and then some of the things that didn't work for that particular
Mm.
individual. And so for me, I think through how can I shed light on the leadership things that have worked and have helped me accelerate my career, while also pairing that with their level of expertise. There are certain things that I am just not privy to
Yeah.
in the ever changing world of young people, but there are some things that I'm very clear about and how to help them navigate. And so I really want to create that blend of wisdom that you're speaking of. I think there's so many young leaders who are ignored, so many young leaders who are misunderstood in the workplace.
Yeah.
And I think together, combining our wisdom, I think we can create extraordinary leaders to bring about what you were talking about earlier, right? Which is the individuals who are happiest in the workplace tend to be the happiest neighbors, tend to be the happiest community members, and it's just an echo effect of great people in the world when you have you're centered on your purpose.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, we that young that generational sort of mentoring we call it. You must have it there, reverse mentoring.
Yes.
Yeah. And I experienced that years and years ago, and it was one of the best experiences I ever
Yeah.
had. It was
Mhm.
absolutely fantastic. I learned so much. And I think there's huge value in that. So if organizations are stretched for resources,
Mhm.
that's one of the simplest things that they can do. Stick their
Yes.
oldest and their youngest team members together in a room and see what they can learn from each other.
Yeah, and that bidirectional learning is like
Yeah.
so key to elevation. And I actually think it helps organizations who are on the verge of maybe extinction is the wrong word, but just
Yeah.
on the verge of not moving forward in
Yeah.
the way that they should. I think it's a strategic way to really help organizations thrive.
Yeah.
And sometimes we miss that point of elevating our younger leaders to have the platform to make a difference. And it
Yeah.
could go so far.
Yeah. Yeah, it could. Okay, so AI, yeah, obviously a massive hot topic. I
Yes.
I delved into it and went, okay. Luckily, I don't work for a big corporate, so I don't have to get too into it. I'm using it for bits for my clients, like maybe helping them formulate an appraisal form or a job description, some admin-y stuff, really.
Mhm.
What are you using it with any of your clients for any particular reason?
Yeah, so even similar to like our call right now or our
Mhm.
meeting, right? You have your AI meeting notes. It's helping you track information. I definitely do that in my own business. I help leaders optimize some of their meeting spaces as well. And so
Yeah.
there's those functions, right? But there's also other systems that could help you optimize your emails, help you do auto replies to certain things, help you with scheduling when you're not available. There's also things like AI assistants where you can actually have somebody answer your phone calls. I'm not doing that currently because I like the personal
Me
interactions
too.
with
Yeah.
people. But there's so many different resources where you could have someone answer your phone calls and go through an automated response system to just get them on your phone call or get them in a meeting with you to have that face-to-face time. And it's just optimizing our response time to individuals where we're only one person, right? And so we could only do so much. And I see AI as a space where we could do the monotonous things that happen on the day to day, but really prioritize the things that we truly want to do as leaders, which I find is making the impact and being in front of people. And so there's so many different systems out there, but I'm really interested in helping people optimize their time and really take back some of their time to be in front of people.
Yeah, definitely. So 8 years in, any regrets, Dominic, about leaving your cushy corporate job?
Yes. Any regrets? I wish that you talked about fear earlier on the call. I wish that I did it earlier.
Oh
I truly
wow.
wish that I jumped into it earlier. It took me a little time. It was the perfect timing, for
Uh-huh.
me, but I do wish that I would have done it earlier because I think I would have created so much more impact on the planet. But
Right.
timing is everything.
Mm.
I would say that that's my only regret, that I didn't face my fear earlier and just jumped in. Um,
Mm.
yeah, that's all I could think of in terms of regrets. I've really had an extraordinary experience in my business. It's taken me to places that I didn't think that I would be, and put me in front of individuals that I didn't know I needed to be in front of, whether that's talking at big conferences or um, just working with companies that I didn't know needed my services at the time. But I do wish that I would have done it earlier and faced my fear.
Okay, coaches out there who are thinking of making the leap, take heed, definitely. You're right. You're right. You get to see the most amazing businesses, the most amazing people do things that you didn't think you would do. And because you've written a book, haven't you, as well?
Yes.
Did you ever think you would write a book?
I have always been a writer. I've always been a lifetime or a lifelong learner, rather.
Right.
And actually love books. It's one of my favorite things.
Oh,
Writing and reading is one of my favorite things.
do you want to see my
And
library here,
I
Dominic?
saw that, which I was so
Right.
interested by.
Yeah,
I also
that's
have my library in another room here, but so similar thing there, but always learning. So for me, I wanted to always write a book, but I didn't know what the topic of things that I wanted to focus on. I didn't know one, how to do it, the resources to do it, and so there was one moment where I was sitting down and I was going through all of my vision boards, and author kept coming up on every single vision board. And I was
wow.
like, oh, this is an interesting thread. I've accomplished all the other things, but I haven't written the book. And so I actually sat down um, early last year at the beginning of the year, and I said, I'm going to give myself 4 months to write this book, and I'm going to give myself 2 months to publish and market and put it out there, and it's going to be published by July. And so I did that around February. I gave myself until July, and just actually sat down. I carved out the time, and just kept writing, kept editing, and I had some amazing support in the world. I actually met a young man in the Netherlands who was really interested in helping other coaches craft their narrative and story. And so we worked together, and he was actually the person who kept me on the timeline to get to that execution point. And he was younger than me, which was really cool. So we got to like blend our perspectives together as I was writing and bouncing ideas. And he was like, I don't know if this goes with my generation. And so I was like, oh, let me go back to the drawing board and do some things differently. So it was a really cool partnership in how I got to craft my book and get it out there. But yeah, very excited. I didn't think I could do it, but at least in the earlier years. But last year I said, I'm actually going to do this. And it's called The Authentic Edge, Leading Without Losing Yourself, where I help, again, leaders go from those individuals who are looking for that blueprint, but don't necessarily have it in a coach or have it in a mentor or a sponsor, but you want something written. And so I walked through a blueprint of how I went from mid-level leadership into senior level leadership. And then
Right.
an added value I put in there is I got to a place of burnout in my career, and I didn't know how to navigate that. And people, at least in my sphere, wasn't talking about the burnout piece of leading and what that meant. And so I actually created a roadmap for how do you move from burnout to recovery. So that's also included in the book.
Now that is worth its weight in gold
Yes.
because, yeah, you're right. People find themselves in burnout and then they have to create their own roadmap to get out of it. But the fact that you've got that in your book, what we'll do is we'll make sure we have a link to your book on the show notes
Perfect.
as well. So where can people find you, Dominic?
Yeah, so the most direct way is you can go to my website, which is Vision Leadership for Life, and that's for FOR. But Vision Leadership for Life, it has my contact there. You could actually get my book there.
Yeah.
It's also on Amazon as well if you just want that quicker turnaround. But all of my information is on my website. You could also find me directly on LinkedIn. My handle is Dominic C. George. And again, I'm the person responding there. And so you can get direct contact with me there. But between the both platforms, either my website or LinkedIn is the most direct way to get in contact with me.
Amazing. I've got one last question. If you thought you only had 12 years left on this planet, 12 years, 12 months left on this planet to live, what would you do differently over the next 12 months?
Such an amazing question,
If
Rebecca.
anything.
um, I have such an incredible life. I have the best friendships. I have the greatest profession, I think, or actually, we share the greatest
Yeah.
profession, and greatest family. I don't know if I would do anything different than what I'm doing currently.
Right.
I love to travel. I love art. It's one of those hidden passions that I do on the side. I've actually been trying to figure out how do I help artistic leaders and more creative leaders blend that into their strategy of leadership. And so maybe that's
Mm.
something that I would do slightly different. I would start to include some of my side passions as an artist, creative, visionary, to blend that into my leadership and help others grow in that space. But I don't know if I would do anything different in the last 12 months. I may travel a little bit more than I am and seeing some friends around the world. But, you know, with technology, I get access to them immediately anyway. So I don't know if I would do anything different, Rebecca.
Oh, I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
I could talk to you for hours because
Yes.
that whole creativity and leadership, I think I think that's missing
Mm,
in our world of work. And I think it would make such a difference to organizations and to individuals. It's almost like it's kind of worked out of you.
yes.
But I mean, creativity, as you and I both know, is ideal for problem solving. I get people to think creatively before I get them to write their strategy, because
Yes.
I don't think you can write a strategy unless you've thought creatively first.
Yeah.
Strategy is
I,
not a linear process, is it?
Yeah, I'm often I don't tell people this actually. Maybe I should tell them more. But before I actually create strategy, which I love strategy, is one of the my most favorite thing about
Yeah.
leadership is developing strategy. But for me, what I actually do is I have this large whiteboard that I work on. Sometimes I use chart paper that I'll just put up, but I'm actually drawing out certain things and elements of how I'm going to get to point A to point B, and I visually draw it out first before I write out the strategy, and I'm imagining in my mind, how am I going to take this high performing team to this next level? And sometimes I'm drawing the faces of people, how they're going to experience learning one thing, being in a certain situation, whether it's problem solving or some hard point in terms of the strategy. And then I'm usually drawing like emotions and
Mm.
different visuals of how I want to see them in the end, and it just helps me create the full picture before I actually write out the strategy. So I'm often using my creative direction and creative design to help me think, and I'm sure there's leaders out there doing the same thing.
Yeah, but maybe not talking about it, Dominic.
Yeah, true.
And and I think the process is really good. It works every single time
Mm,
that thinking creatively on purpose gets them to where they need to be quicker than
yes.
just going, oh, what do we do now? Oh, what do the
Yes.
spreadsheets say? That comes in later, but the
Mm,
creative, yeah. Yeah, I could talk to you
yeah.
for hours about this. Right. Okay. So, thank you so much. It's been lovely to chat to you, and I get the sense, even though we're on the other side of the Atlantic, that working with you would be a joy and a pleasure, and people would get an enormous amount out of it. So I wish you all the luck in the world and to continue to put the good stuff out there, Dominic.
Yeah, thank you so much, Rebecca. This was so amazing to talk to you, and I feel the same energy that we could do great work together. And you seem like an extraordinary person. And for the listeners out there, I would just offer, if you're at that place where you want to do something different, you're at this pivotal point, definitely think about your own situation and your own experience of how you need to get there. But if fear is in the way, just take that first step and just do it, because life is so much better when we're living in our purpose. We're chasing after our own individual dreams, and our dreams are there for a reason. They're not meant for us, they're meant for other people. And so the quicker you get to that dream, the more impact you're going to create on the planet. So just wanted to offer that to the listeners. But Rebecca, this was so great. It's so amazing to connect with you, and I hope we do it more.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you for listening. We really appreciate it. We hope you got true value out of it. And if you did, what would be lovely is if you could leave us a 5-star rating. Why 5-star? Well, that helps the algorithm. And as we all know, the algorithms rule the world. So if you've enjoyed it and you've got value out of it, give us a 5-star rating so other people can enjoy it too. Thanks. See you next time.